This is NPR.
Support for First Coast Connect is provided in part by Baptist Health and North Florida TPO.
Good morning, I'm Ann Schindler, and this is First Coast Connect. Today, what does the former mayor's resurgence in local political conversations tell us about his future plans? We ask him about Lenny Curry 2.0. Later in the program, an offside foot and a strong Seahawks defense lead to a disappointing home loss. We get a Monday morning breakdown on the Jags' decisive second half. But first, former Jacksonville Mayor Lenny Curry is once again weighing in on city business, including a recent editorial in the Florida Times-Union, a TV interview about tax cuts, and even calling into this program on occasion. Here to talk about what we should take away from all this is former Jacksonville mayor and current partner in the lobbying firm Ballard Partners, Lenny Curry. Good morning.
And it's good to be with you. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you here. And of course, for our listeners, we want to hear from you as well. If you've got comments or questions, you can reach us at 904-549-2937, or you can email us at firstcoastconnect@wjct.org. Of course, you can find us at FCC On Air on Facebook, Instagram, or X, and you can watch our live stream if you would like to see our lovely former mayor here. So I'm going to tell you, when I was talking to people ahead of this interview, the first question everybody had was, what's he running for? So I'm going to ask you, what are you running for?
I'm not. I'm just, I'm a former mayor, and there's issues that I care about, and I was silent for a couple of years, active, though, in state and national and somewhat local politics, and have just decided that I'm going to start speaking out again on things that I care about.
What prompted that?
The tax issue, really, the property tax issue. It's one that, when I ran for mayor in 2015, started in 2014, there were a couple of pillars, really, things that I ran on. One was public safety, but the other was I talked a lot about the amount of times taxes had been raised. Between 2007 and 2015, there were 8 tax increases. 8 taxes. Between property taxes were raised 3 times. Garbage tax was instituted, has since been raised twice. At what point does taxation supposedly going to solve all our problems, but then they keep telling us they need more money? As you know, I cut the millage rate when I was in office. That was the first millage rate tax cut since 2007. So when I saw that the council wanted to cut taxes, given the growth in revenue, I thought it was a good idea, and others opposed it. So I decided to speak out. Many opposed it, and I thought that those that were opposing it were somewhat disconnected to the reality of every working day people.
Yeah, we actually were listening back to an interview that you did with our colleague, Emily Turner at Action News Jax. She does a weekly show called, This Week in the 904. And she was talking to you about kind of your experiences with taxes, but also talking to people in the community about their experiences. And you sort of recalled this conversation that you'd had at a gas station.
Sure.
Why don't we just take a listen to that and we can talk about it?
Yeah.
When I got to the register, the lady behind the register, I'm guessing in her 70s, working her butt off, looked at me and said, I scrambled to put $5 in my gas tank this morning just to get to work this morning. This is what people are facing. Government has very few levers. We can't control the price of gas as local government. We can't control the price of groceries. We can't control the price of insurance as local government. You know what we can control? What we tax you, and that's property taxes. We should be cutting property taxes. And anybody that puts that down and dismisses it is not connected with what's happening with real families every day.
So I kind of caught my eye or my ear. You're talking about this experience in a gas station and tax cuts. And in fact, while you were in office, you raised the gas tax by 6 cents a gallon. I mean, you did it with the council, and you did it for reasons. But, in the end, if you calculate how that impacts a family over the course of a year, it's more expensive than whatever is going to be saved by this millage rate cut. And so how do you justify, the fact that that was a tax cut that you advanced and supported and maybe more costly than whatever savings would be realized by this new tax rollback?
Well, it's a user fee, and it's different than someone that owns an asset and it's going to be taxed on it every single year. You buy your home, you pay a tax, and you're going to pay an additional tax on it every year based on a valuation. When I took office in 2015, the previous administration had spent $20 million on infrastructure. That is embarrassing and not sustainable for a city this size.
And explain what you mean at 20 million.
So roads, resurfacing, sidewalks, that was the infrastructure budget in the year before I came into office.
And you're saying that was insufficient.
My first year, we put in 180 million. And then we're in hundreds of millions, and this administration's continued that. We were only able to do that because the city was broke when I took office. I did pension reform. That gave us budget relief, and we were able to sustain that. We needed to invest in more infrastructure. So do we raise taxes on people? And we said no, but we need revenue. So there's a user fee, which is the gas tax, which is shared by people that don't live in Jacksonville. They live in bedroom communities. They come in, they use our roads. Somebody has to pay for our roads. Somebody has to pay for our infrastructure.
Sure, but you're calling it a user fee. It is a tax.
Well, look, I made a decision. I stand by it. I believe that this city raised taxes 8 times from 2007 to 2015. I'm the only mayor since 2007 to cut the millage rate and cut taxes. By the way, John Delaney cut taxes. Good conservative policy. I'm glad he did it. And I think it was good for the economy. He then had the Better Jacksonville plan, which did great things for infrastructure. He had to make a decision as well. Property tax is the biggest lever that we can pull to help our citizens.
But I mean, as I mentioned, it is actually smaller than what we're talking about with the gas tax.
Well, that depends on the percentage of your cut you do in property taxes. I mean, I argue that we could afford a larger millage rate increase, but the council started where they thought they could. I mean, at what point, let's stop and think about this if you really want to get into this. Revenues are going up in the city of Jacksonville and have been exponentially for years. Under this administration, I mean, their budget is exponentially higher than any kind of money I had that came in through property taxes. And there's no thought of cutting that. There's no thought of cutting that increase, dollars that people are having to pay more every year as a result of a property valuation.
I mean, the world has changed a lot since 2020, in terms of what everything costs. And so I don't know that we would expect the budget to be, apples to apples in that period.
So do you just spend it?
I'm curious though.
Well, I'm asking you though. Do you just spend the money because it's there? Well, I mean, if that's what you believe, that's okay. But I don't believe that.
Yeah, I'm not making the case either way. I'm just saying that the cost of everything has increased a great deal. So in additional tax revenue isn't necessarily just like extra money you're spending. It might just be the cost of doing business the same as you've always done it.
Well, if you start to dissect this budget, they've invested in a bunch of new programs and that's their policy choices. They spent less on road resurfacing in this last budget than they did the previous year, with way more tax revenue. So, look, it's just a fundamental policy. Here's the deal. It's a fundamental policy disagreement, and we can have that. I can have that. Council members can have it. Citizens can have it with this administration. In the end, these decisions will be made in the next election. That's how they're made.
Sure.
Who's right, who's wrong? Voters get to make that decision.
And so when you say it's a policy decision, I guess one question some people have is why you feel like that's a discussion that you belong in. And it's because you planted the flag pretty firmly during your term about, who should take part in these conversations. You sort of...
What did I say?
You memorably tweeted
I know,
about
that's
Jake
why
Godbold.
I asked a rhetorical question.
Well, it's November 2019, and you say, when your time is up, it's up.
Sure.
I'll abide by that when my time is up. It's good form, and nobody cares when you're gone. Do you still think it's good form to not insert yourself into like a future administration's business?
Well, I haven't inserted for a couple of years. I think that it's a judgment call by each individual if and when they insert. I know former Mayor John Payton inserted himself into this discussion. He believes we should not cut taxes. In fact, he's a proponent of raising taxes. I would say that Jake Godbold, the former mayor, God rest his soul, weighed in again on numerous mayors on issues, for and against. Jake agreed with me on some things. He stood by me with pension reform. He disagreed with me on other things. And look, when this is politics, this is sharp elbows, full contact. We were in a disagreement. He spoke out against me, and I threw an elbow back at him, and I did it on Twitter. So that's people that can't handle that shouldn't be in politics. I'm going to fight for what I believe in, and I did at the time. But I'm not going to disparage Jake Godbold. He was a good mayor. He worked hard, and he weighed in when he thought he should. And when he weighed in against me and I disagreed with him, I fought back, and I would do it again.
If you're just joining us, we're talking to former Mayor Lenny Curry about his new kind of reemergence into the conversation around city politics, including property tax cut. And if you'd like to join our conversation, you can give us a call. We're at 904-549-2937. You can also email firstcoastconnect@wjct.org. I'm going to take a call from Jason in Riverside. Good morning, Jason. Go ahead.
Hey, good morning, and good morning to the former mayor.
Good morning.
I just wanted to ask why he thinks it's appropriate, if he's going to continue to weigh in on policy decisions, to go out on social media and also be cruel to constituents. He once called someone on social media just last year a MFer on Twitter, and I think it's very unbecoming to someone who wants to, reinsert himself and have an opinion. He should hold himself to a higher standard. Thank you.
Thanks, Jason. Certainly your thoughts on that. And I
Sure.
mean, you do have a bit of a rep on Twitter.
I've had my moments on Twitter.
You've
I haven't had it recently. But
yeah, but
yeah,
I mean,
look, I'm a human being, and so yeah, I've done things on Twitter that, they're out there, and
you're a human being.
They stand.
But as our mayor,
Sure.
we're fat shaming people. Some called it snitch tagging when you responded to somebody who had a job. I think at Florida Blue or one of the insurance companies, kind of saying, "Does your boss know?" That you're making these comments.
Here's what I'll say. For every response, there's hundreds, maybe thousands of pokes. That's okay. It comes with the territory. By the way, I don't block people on Twitter like the current mayor does. I took all the comments in stride. Sometimes I responded.
Well, I think you blocked people who didn't you didn't
No,
follow.
you're not, it's actually illegal to block people.
Perhaps block is not the right term, but the only people that could respond to your tweets were people.
Yeah, but you can't block.
Yeah, but explain to me the difference. I mean, you're saying that.
Blocking means they can't read your stuff, they can't follow you, they can't see you, etc.
Okay.
So
But-
regardless,
But well, let me
Sure.
just finish though. I mean,
Sure.
you did create a barrier for people who you did not follow. They could not respond.
They
to
could
your
follow.
tweet,
They could actually respond with a quote tweet.
but they
under
couldn't.
under the law. I did not violate the law and block people.
Yeah,
And I
not suggesting
which
you
by
did.
the way, if you block someone, that means you can't see what they're saying and engage whatever. So yeah, there were times that I commented on social media, and I try not to do that these days. But again, look, when I get in a fight and I believe in something, there's going to be moments when the sharp elbow is going to come out. Sometimes it doesn't come out as eloquently as people would like,
Hmm.
but those things stand.
And you stand behind them. I mean, do you regret the tweets that you made? Some of you have deleted, and I don't know what
Sure.
your
Look,
threshold is for
Look,
deleting a tweet.
like any human being, I've said things that I wish I could have said differently. I'll say this. When I say something, like I believe what I'm saying, I would have at times said it differently.
Right. Do you think that as mayor that was perhaps a trespass that you shouldn't have made in those times when you were making those tweets?
Yeah, that's what it is.
It is what it is.
It's what it is.
But I mean, does that
It's
mean
it's what it is.
does that mean you can't revisit or
There's no reason to revisit. We're where we are. All I can do is be who I am today and be the best person that I can be. And fight for, by the way, and fight for what I believe in.
All right, we've got a call from John on the south side. Good morning, John. Go ahead.
Hi, good morning. I appreciate the mayor the former mayor being on. I didn't agree with everything Mr. Former Mayor Curry stood for when he was in office, but with regard to the conversation this morning, there seems to be a lot of time spent addressing the issue of whether he should insert himself in political issues, speak publicly about things. I just think that's a little bit of a waste of time because there's so much discussion on the national level as well about people being able to use their First Amendment rights. I mean, agree or disagree with Mr. Curry, he has an opinion. He's not an elected official. And as far as the tenor of things that he said in the past, I just listened to Mr. Schumer last week saying the F word behind the podium. There's a lot of this that goes on. I mean, but the issues, don't we need to address the issues? And thank you for your time.
Thanks, Mark. Your thoughts?
Keep cutting property taxes. Amen.
Oh, excuse me. That was John. I apologize. We've got a call from Mark on the west side. Good morning, Mark. Go ahead.
I'm kind of curious. From what I understand, cutting these property taxes, I'll see, $10 a year. I mean, is all this brouhaha worth it? I mean, $10 a year is not even a tank of gas.
Can I ask you a question? If the tax cut was larger and it would save you, is there a number you'd be okay with a tax cut? Or are you opposed to tax cuts in general?
Oh, I'm not opposed to tax cuts, but $1. I mean, it's like $1.50 a month. Are you kidding me? That's not even worth coming to. Again, that's not even a tank of gas. Come on, man.
So is there a number per year that you would say I agree with that tax cut?
More than a tank of gas, I think. But what gets me is, though, you will ride this. You're the tax-cutting mayor into the next political office you choose to go to. I'm the tax-cutting mayor. Yeah, $1.50. Please.
All right.
You're
Thanks,
not
Mark.
for tax cuts. That's okay. Say what you believe.
In terms of your, next move, you, I don't know if it's widely known that you actually really seriously considered running for Congress
Sure.
during your mayoral term, that you would have actually, at one point were thinking that you might step down as mayor
It was
to seek a scene that Aaron Bean has now.
Yeah, actually, it was a serious discussion in my family. It was a serious discussion with the leadership in the U.S. House. A serious discussion with Team Donald Trump, and I was positioned and lined up and ready to go. And family got on board, and I just made a decision. I woke up one morning and said to my wife, "I just don't think this is right now, right time. I've got a term to finish. I've got kids in high school." All three kids were in high school at the time, and just decided it wasn't right, and got 100% behind Aaron Bean, and I think he's doing a great job.
Obviously, when you, re-enter the conversation, as we've said, a lot of focus turns to whether you would consider running for mayor, number one, challenging Donna Deegan in the next election. If there wasn't a strong candidate to emerge from the Republican Party, would you consider running for mayor?
Well, two things I would say. I've been on the ballot 3 times locally, twice to be elected mayor. First election when I ran against an incumbent, second election when I ran for re-election, and then when I did pension reform. And I've never lost an election. I won all 3 of those elections. I was elected in party politics multiple times as the state chairman a couple of times, local chairman multiple times, vice chairman, treasurer. I've never lost an election when I put my name on a ballot. So if I want to put my name on a ballot, I'm pretty confident it's mine. I'm going to win. But I will say that as a good friend of mine, very good friend that is been active and so knowledgeable and influential in local, state, and national politics, has advised many times you don't go home. So it's someone else's time in Jacksonville, and I'm going to be a voice to make sure that the right person is elected. I will say this, too, that if you look at my history, let's just talk about the facts in terms of politics. Probably, as a conservative Republican, the most unifying Republican we've had in recent history. I had liberal Al Lawson congressman, Tommy Uzuri, former mayor, council president, both endorsed my reelection as Democrats with totally different policy views, endorsed in television ads and in mail, and worked with me hand in hand to get things done.
One thing that may have changed since the litany of electoral victories that you're citing is the fact that if you did run again for office, you come with a certain amount of baggage, particularly from the failed sale of JEA. And I'm not sure what you have done publicly since that, particularly since the indictments, since the former CEO of JEA now in prison for defrauding the city and trying to basically steal millions of dollars from ratepayers at JEA. If you feel like you've addressed that adequately, if you have apologized ever for your role in sort of advancing him into the senior position that he had and sort of clearing the way, and then, according to federal prosecutors and city investigators, carrying that sale effort yourself behind the scenes for a number of years, do you feel like you have done what you need to do to address?
Numerous mayors have thought about exploring the value of JEA. Many didn't do it as publicly as my administration did. And there's nothing wrong with that, nor is there anything illegal about that. And the process that played out speaks for itself as it relates to me. I would say your question started with being on a ballot and having a history. Well, there's a flip side to that. I remember listening to this show in 2014 about who's going to run against Alvin Brown, and they threw all these names out of Republicans that could run, and my name came up, and universally the panel dismissed me. He's a nobody. Nobody knows who he is. He has no name ID. He has no record. Guess what? I cleared the field, and I won. So again, I go back to what I said. If I put my name on a ballot, it's game on. Let's go. And I feel pretty good. I've never lost, so can't even envision what a loss would look like. As it relates to the mayor's race, again, good friend of mine, can't go home. So
Yeah. I mean, as to the question, though, about your, acknowledging responsibility in the JEA.
what's my responsibility? What would you like me to acknowledge?
Um, First of all, clearing the way for Aaron Zahn's appointment and, ultimately his, carrying this sale effort forward that turned to be, first of all, you talk about it being publicly done. I don't think very many people thought it was publicly done. I think a great number of years during your term, you were saying, I'm not interested, this isn't happening. But in fact, it was happening behind the scenes, a very concerted effort to sell JEA. And, it came pretty close to happening. And even after some really serious concerns surfaced about the cost to ratepayers and potentially fraud involved, you didn't urge people to slow down. You actually kind of accelerated the process and urged council and the JEA board to kind of move ahead with this privatization effort.
Everything I've had to say about JA is on the record. I've done numerous gaggles. I never ducked them. I never ran away from them. So if people want to go back to that and revisit it, they can. That era is over. I think that it's smart to know the value of your utility and determine the best way forward. Unfortunately, that ended the way that it did. And again, I've got a long history in public office, and I'm proud of my record.
You don't feel you owe.
I'm proud. I don't owe anybody an apology.
Do you feel that it was a kind of, as it is widely regarded, a disaster?
It ended badly for a lot of people. Yes, it did.
Are you?
I didn't do that.
You didn't do what?
I didn't do that.
Do what?
I mean, I didn't cause that to end badly.
You don't think that your role in kind of setting up?
I think there's nothing wrong with wanting to understand the value of your utility or any government asset for that matter and understanding the best way forward strategically. If the people executing that executed in a way they should, I mean, that happened. So that's where we are.
I mean, it happened on your watch, though. It happened under your supervision and in many cases your direction.
Well, I guess if I'm on a ballot again, we'll see how that all plays out, won't we? But I have no concern about it.
All right. We got a call from Paul on the South Side. Good morning, Paul. Go ahead.
Hey, so I just wanted to comment. It seems like we're always trying to figure out a loophole for one small solution. Former Mayor, you said that at the beginning you had spoken to a woman at a gas station who struggled to pay $5 to fill up her gas tank. But if we're cutting taxes that have no impact to her whatsoever, and I say that as someone who lives paycheck to paycheck, that tax cut was infinitesimal. But if we improve social welfare or other outlets where we can help people, like for instance, that woman who's working at a cash register at a gas station, I'm sure she's not making as much money. I'm sure helping her from other outlets would definitely be beneficial than just removing tax cuts that she won't see any benefit from. And in addition to that, road resurfacing, I moved to Jacksonville around 2015, and I lived on the north side. There was an area off of the corner of Dunk Creek and New Berlin Road in front of this little gas station. That area was never resurfaced during your time in office, and now it has. Perhaps it's a different, something unrelated, but road resurfacing and improving sidewalks, that's a big thing.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you. I agree. Road resurfacing and improving sidewalks is a big thing. I would say, look, as it relates to programs to help people, they exist at the federal level, the state level, local level. My budget supported those. However, big picture, I'm a conservative Republican, and I believe that we ought to put people's money back in their pockets, working families, and put money back in their pockets. And I think that that's good for people. It's their decisions, and it's good for the economy, and it creates jobs. And that's my philosophical position. And we can have a disagreement on that, and that's what elections are about.
We're talking to former Jacksonville Mayor Lenny Curry, and we're taking your calls and questions. We have a call from Shauna in Bay Meadows. Good morning, Shauna. Go ahead.
Hey, so my question is, during your administration, people went for weeks without reliable trash and recycling and yard waste pickup. So what happened there? Was that bad contracting? Was that lack of oversight, or was it poor management? Thank you.
We had a moment in time where we had an issue with one of our contractors, trash pickup, and we made a change. But if you look at our history on debris pickup, I might have went through multiple hurricanes, and again, the record speaks for itself. It was covered widely by the media. We had the best debris pickup and storm coverage that the city had ever seen at that point in time. So, short answer to your question is, all organizations at Point have issues and problems. We did face an issue at one point with trash pickup, and our leadership team, the people that I hired and put in place, that I empowered to make decisions, made those decisions, and we corrected that pretty quickly.
I have a question about crime, because that was something that you ran on initially, particularly targeted, Alvin Brown, your predecessor, for being unable to control crime. And crime remained a problem, but it has now dropped significantly. According to Sheriff T.K. Waters, it was down about 50%, the homicide rate in Jacksonville. I guess I am curious to know if crime had fallen by 50% in your second year in office, whether you would have claimed success on your campaign promise.
Well, whose job is it? Is it the sheriff's job or the mayor's job?
I mean, you ran on it.
Well, yeah. So again, I asked a question that I'll answer. So the mayor's job is to fund the state attorney and the sheriff's office, and fund it in a way, if you have good partnership with those people, which I did, that you believe they're putting the right things in place. I invested heavily in technology, heavily in officers, technology in the state attorney's office and the sheriff's office, and the benefits weren't reaped immediately. So whether the investments I made now are having an impact, I'd like to think they are. Here's what we do know: when new mayors come in, they get to cut a bunch of ribbons and take credit for a bunch of things the former mayor did. That's how our democracy works, and that's okay. So yeah, I would have celebrated any reduction in crime. Of course I would have. I celebrate it now.
Do you give credit to Donna Deegan for that decline?
What are her investments in public safety?
She would say, historic in terms of restoring the pension that went away under your...
Did that have an immediate... So restoring a pension had an immediate effect on the reduction in crime? There's no way.
Well, in terms of staffing...
I invested in they haven't hired... those officers weren't hired that fast. I mean, there's no way that those investments are already reaping benefits and a drive in crime. I mean, that's just a logical conclusion right there.
I think that the first responders have said that it has made a measurable difference reinstating, pension benefits in a traditional way.
So because they got pension benefits, they went out and did their job better the next day?
Well, they were able to fill vacancies.
That suggests, but those vacancies were filled right away? That's just not possible. I know how the process works. I worked with 2 sheriffs for years. It takes time.
Sure. I mean, I'm just passing along what the first responders themselves have
I'm
said.
passing along that there's no question that I invested heavily in technologies that would identify criminals, gangs, casings on bullets, so they could take people off the street. And look, I'm glad crime's down right now.
Do you think you deserve credit for it?
I mean, I'm not here. I mean, I'm proud of the investments I made. I hope and believe they've had an impact, but I'm not here to take a victory lap.
So in terms of the...
By the way, great job to our Sheriff T.K. Waters. Doing an amazing job.
He's been a big supporter of yours, and I think vice versa.
But no, I mean, politics aside, he's doing a phenomenal job. Republicans, Democrats, and independents can agree with that. He's transparent. He owns the issue. He speaks clearly. He speaks with conviction. And I'm just real proud that he's my sheriff.
He also lives in Duval County, which was something that his predecessor did not. What are your thoughts about that in retrospect with Mike Williams when it became clear that he wasn't a resident?
Well, I addressed that at the time. Mike and I had a great partnership. When I learned about it, if I remember correctly, Mike had an opinion from lawyers, I think, that were not local lawyers, not our general counsel. I don't remember the details, but he had an opinion that what he had done was acceptable under the law, and he believed that. So he operated in accordance with what he believed was legal. And as it played out, he decided not to stay the course. I'm proud of the relationship I had with Mike Williams, and I consider him a friend, and I think he did a good job.
In terms of, we talked a little bit about social media, and if it's all right with you, I want to talk about some ways that social media impacted your personal life and your family. And that is, something really dreadful and harmful that happened to your daughter, Brooke. a law has now been named after her because of her advocacy and I would guess yours as well, in terms of fighting, you know, online obscenity that tries to harm somebody's reputation.
Yep.
Um, will you just, if you're okay talking about it, if she's okay talking about it, just
Sure.
tell us a little bit about how you first learned what was happening?
Yeah, I will touch on it, and I would suggest that really, I mean, she's been such a strong voice in this, as a victim, and you might consider talking to her at some point. She could give you way more insight than I can. Brooke, my daughter, was the victim of a deep fake nude. Um, Someone pulled her picture of her face off of some platform, some social media platform, and imposed a nude body on it, and posted it on social media. And uh, by the way, that image, we don't know if it still lives or not. Um, hasn't resurfaced recently, but you don't know. She was in high school at the time. She's a freshman in college now, and she tried to solve the problem herself right away. She didn't know who the person was. It was another teenage boy at another school in town. And she, through friends, figured out his name, tried to contact him, tried to contact his mother, to no avail. I can't imagine being a lady and this happening to them and not knowing what your recourse is. And then she later told me, even though it was all fake, she didn't know how to come tell me because she was embarrassed because there's this photo. And so she came home and told me what happened. And I immediately I wanted to go to the person's house. And bad idea, so I didn't. And anyway, we got the sheriff's office and the state attorney involved, and we prosecuted, which is a whole nother story. And then it was gone. It prosecuted, and Brooke went on with her life, and then realized other people started telling her this photo is going to resurface. She had all these feelings come up again, and the victimhood never really left her, even though she never really shared it with us. And we started talking about what you can do, and she decided she wanted to be an advocate for a law that would help other people, other women in this situation. And she went to Tallahassee, advocated for what's now called Brooks Law, and imposes civil penalties on social media companies that don't remove these images within a certain period of time. That was done in conjunction at the same time First Lady Melania Trump was doing something similar as it relates to criminal penalties. So as I watched this play out, I just watched my daughter take control of her being a victim and saying, I'm not going to let this person control my story, control who I am as a woman, and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure other young women don't have to allow that to happen. And the number of people, I've had people tell me, she said people tell her, women that this happened to 10 years ago, and they didn't feel like they had a voice, they didn't know how to speak out. So I'm just real proud of her, and I don't know, she'd tell it much better than I can, and with much more poise than I can, for sure.
But now this law is named after her.
It is.
And it, I would guess, took even once it was out there, once she had been even testifying before lawmakers in Tallahassee, still difficult for her and your family.
Well, we had to have this discussion once she decided to pursue this and make sure she understand you're now going to be in the news. Your name's going to be in the news. It's going to create Google searches. People are going to now be searching for this photo. That is the human condition, right? You're now also associating your name with a picture that's out there that we don't ever want to see again.
Yeah.
And that opens up a whole new level of exposure. But she decided that she thought this was the right thing to do. And again, she did it with grace and poise and humility. And she did it much better than anyone I know could have or would have done it.
Yeah, well, it's certainly admirable that she was willing to take that kind of public stand. So in recent years, last couple, you've been working as a lobbyist for Ballard Partners, which is a very well-known and respected and also very powerful lobbying firm. What kind of work are you doing?
I'm in the relationship business. I just advocate people and that are in any industry that I believe in that need help with federal, state, and local government.
Who are some of your clients?
I mean, they're disclosed. I don't talk about my clients publicly and in the media.
What kind of field are they in?
All like universal. Like,
Mhm.
I'm in the relationship business, so I have. If I don't have we're a big firm, so we have partners that have expertise in certain areas. So I have relationships, and if someone has a need that we believe in, and we think we can help them in a way that's good for all parties involved, we help them, and I use my relationships, and I'm proud to be with Ballard Partners. And by the way, business is good. Business is good everywhere. Business is good locally too. I'm Jordan Ellsbury is managing partner of the local office, and I'll tell you, we were going over our client list a couple of weeks ago, and it's been a good couple of years locally.
One thing I'm curious about is casinos, because that was something that came up a few years ago while you were in office. The idea that maybe the Las Vegas Sands was going to do some investing in Jacksonville, possibly by the airport. Um, are any of your clients in that business, in the gaming business? Is that something you're hearing about?
I'm not here. I'm not registered. I mean, I don't know our entire client list. We're a big firm. I'm not registered currently in that space, and I haven't weighed in on that space in some time. And if that subject were to come up again, I would be thoughtful about it and decide whether or not I should weigh in or be engaged or involved.
I mean, obviously, some laws would have to change for that to be possible. But are you supportive still generally of the idea of a kind of casino facility, more traditional casino
Look,
facility?
I'm a guy that's about freedom, but we have laws in place in our state for reasons, and it wouldn't be thoughtful for me to get in over my skis right now and have a conversation about a hypothetical. I'd have to see, in order for me to weigh in, I'd have to see and hear specifics.
Specific to the issue of Confederate monuments, which I think we're all feeling blessed that we don't have to talk about all the time anymore, but it certainly was a dominant conversation for a really long time. And one thing that the current mayor got a lot of criticism from some people on council was removing the Confederate monument um, at the park in Springfield, the Springfield Monument. Whether that was handled appropriately has been a topic, whether it was financed appropriately has been a topic, whether it was, removed has also been a topic. But I'm curious, first of all, your thoughts about that, because that was a monument you also wanted to see removed. And in fact, you funded removal, although it never happened during your term. But also because you similarly removed a Confederate monument
Legally,
in a similar circumstance,
legally,
kind of overnight.
followed process,
Uh-huh.
followed procedure, followed the law. I mean, you pose a really big question here. That is what I'm hearing. If you go back to 2014, where people are thinking about someone should run, this administration has a history of incompetence when it comes to doing things the right way, having lawyers shape things the way they wanted to be shaped, getting contracts executed timely, getting permits on the street on time. What you're describing to me is a process that, as I understand it, that took place that wasn't in accordance with the legal process that should have been followed. Again, we can have disagreements on policy, and then voters get to make their decisions, but administrations should be doing things that are in accordance with the law and the process that they're supposed to. What I did was, and I speak proudly of this, you remember when I was elected, the city council and the former mayor before I got in were fighting all the time. And everyone said, oh, that council all of a sudden was supportive of Lenny Curry because they're all Republicans. That's a bologna sandwich. I had Democrats that supported me on that council because I put people in power in place that I hired that had expertise, legislative affairs, people that ran government, chiefs of staff, that I knew had the expertise, and I empowered them to go do their jobs, and I let them go do their jobs. And they did it effectively, and they did it in accordance with the law. When we made big decisions, I personally sat in the room with our lawyers and made sure we understood what we could and couldn't do, and never looked at a lawyer and said, this is the answer I want, because that's not the way you do business.
I mean, you don't have any knowledge that that's what she did either.
I didn't say that.
Well, I mean, you're saying that this current administration is incompetent. I'm curious if you think that you would have kind of tolerated that criticism from any of your predecessors. I mean, it does seem.
But my administration was competent. I mean, even if you talk to now what we like to call the cocktail sippers, the people that run in the Civic Council and run in the Chamber of Commerce, when they all were supporting me back then, it's because they were tired of an incompetent government. And when we came in, and I started with Sam Musa and a whole series of people and good people that worked for me, we were heavily and highly praised for our competence for years. And we had Jordan Ellsbury and Katie Wiles and Brian Hughes, and all of these people were trained in expertise, and they followed the rules, and they dotted their I's and crossed their T's and got things done. And if you go talk to outside of just the public media conversation now, and you talk to people that are nonprofits that understand what's happening in local government, they know what's happening in terms of competence. And when I came in, I remember they supported me, not because they supported all of my policies, because they wanted competence, and they praised us highly. I remember.
I mean, to be fair, this mayor has overseen some major accomplishments, including, the stadium deal and ensuring that the Jaguars are going to stick around. That was something that.
I'm glad the stadium deal's done, and I'm glad they're sticking around.
Yeah. But I mean,
I advocated for that and did the blueprint for that deal before I left office. But yeah, I'm glad it happened.
I mean, there's also a number of things that are, being built right now that were not in the works when you were in office. I mean, in terms of things that have actually been accomplished, I think that this mayor can look at a pretty long list of things that are in the process or have been done.
Well, that'll be for this administration will make that case when they're up for re-election if they have a real opponent.
Got a call from Matt Carlucci in San Marco. Good morning, Councilmember Carlucci. We've just got a minute left, please.
Okay, I'll make it quick. Look, I want to compliment Mayor Curry. He did so many good things when he was mayor, and we didn't always agree. But on the tough ones, I was always tried to be there with him on the gas tax, doubling that, and on the Confederate monuments. And I just want to make the comment. I heard what he said about our current mayor. She's very competent. She's not perfect, nor am I, and nor is anybody in city government. But so much of what Mayor Curry laid the groundwork for, she's been able to build upon. And I think we all should be happy for the progress and the momentum that our city has going. And I just want to throw that out there. I think the two administrations have dovetailed together, and just point out that I don't see any incompetence, just maybe some differences of opinions. I say that very respectfully because this man, Mayor Curry, he worked hard as a mayor, and he's a wonderful father, and I have great respect for him. But I have to take up for my mayor as well, and I took up for Mayor Curry many times. But anyway, my best to all, and I just wanted to throw those comments in. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate the call. We are going to have to just about leave it there. I really do appreciate you coming on this morning. When would we know if there is going to be some developments in your political future?
And not anytime soon. I'm working hard right now. I've got 2 kids in college and 1 in high school, and got a lot of responsibilities. Happy to be involved behind the scenes, helping good people get elected to state, local, and federal offices. And I would say stay tuned. But if I ever do end up on a ballot again, probably going to win.
All right. Former Mayor Lenny Curry, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
Up next.
Mayo Clinic, working to solve the unsolvable by using innovations like machine perfusion to help more patients receive life-saving liver, heart, kidney, and lung transplants. More at mayoclinic.org/Florida. WinGuard, a marketing and communications agency dedicated to helping Jacksonville businesses plan creative campaigns and data-driven advertising plans. Proudly located in 5 Points and serving client partners across the region. More information at wearewingard.com.
On the next Fresh Air, Mitch Albom, whose book Tuesdays with Maury became a best-selling memoir and an Emmy-winning film, discusses his new novel Twice. The story is about a man who discovers he can relive any moment, but must accept the consequences of reliving it. Join us.
Today at noon on WJCT News 89.9.
I am fed up with the amount of time that I've been spending on my phone every single day. Tell me where my screen time has been.
Knitting, scrapbooking, sewing. Many Gen Zers are taking up hobbies.
So in the last year, I started trying random new things that I was super bad at.
Why hobbies make you happy.
It will humble you. It will make you a better problem solver, smarter. And basically hobbies will just overall make you a more interesting person.
That's on the next On Point.
Today at 11 here on WJCT News 89.9.
President Trump is ramping up his crackdown on immigration in two Democratic-led cities, Chicago and Portland. He's also deployed some 500 National Guard service members to Illinois and is threatening to invoke the Insurrection Act to do it in Oregon. We look at what's happening on the ground in Chicago and Portland and what it means for the country. Next time on 1A.
Today starting at 10 on WJCT News 89.9.
Welcome back. Well, it was not a good home game for the home team on Sunday as the Jags lost 20-12 to the Seattle Seahawks. Here to break down exactly what broke down is Alessandra Pontbriand, sportscaster for WJCT News for WJXT News for Jags. Apologies, claiming you as my own. Alessandra, welcome back.
No, I would listen. I love you guys, so I don't mind it.
We're
at
all
all
on the same team.
Yeah, no, literally, and it's only one letter difference.
I know.
So.
It's very close.
Yeah, it is.
We confuse ourselves all the time. All right. So, first home loss this season.
Yeah.
How big of a deal is this in terms of the triumphant trajectory that they've been on and how glad everyone was to see them on a winning pace?
I think the loss, I mean, listen, starting the season, if you said the Jaguars were going to be 4-2 heading into London, I think anyone would take that because, like, 4-2, only 2 losses, especially their beginning. This first half of the schedule is much more difficult than the second half. So when you look at it that way, you're like, okay, this loss, not horrible. Also, they were not going to go 16-1. Of course, they're going to lose games moving forward. But what really was the biggest issue for this loss was that they hurt themselves. Like, they did not put themselves in the position to win the game. And Trevor Lawrence even said it afterwards. He said, we got to look in the mirror and fix the problems that have really been there all year. Dropped passes, the penalties have been an issue. I mean, they were flagged 10 times for 76 yards, one of them negating Brian Thomas Jr.'s what would have been a 54-yard touchdown. So that's the biggest issue. Seattle's obviously a good team, and that defense is really good. And Sam Darnold is having a good season. You know, Seattle had their way with the Jags. So definitely not great. The offensive line heading into this game, they only allowed 6 sacks in 5 games. Trevor Lawrence was sacked 7 times
in
yesterday.
That's
yeah, that was a lot. He was on the ground a lot. Center Robert Hainsey, who's a veteran, came with Liam Coen over here. He's hurt with a hamstring injury. So a true freshman, a rookie, true freshman, thinking of college, a rookie, Jonah Monheim, had to step up. And that's tough. They obviously, on both offense and defense, lost in the trenches for the Jaguars. Seattle has a really, really good defense. So I knew it was going to be difficult, especially for a rookie. This is his first start. So, of course, they had their way with him. But then Seattle, they have the 3rd best run defense. They absolutely eliminated Jaguars' ground game. They only had 59 yards total on 19 carries. And then the biggest issue was Bashal Tootin. He had no chance on the 2-point conversion try in the early of the 4th quarter that would have made it a 20-14 game. They decided analytics to go for the 2-point conversion. A lot of people thought, why not just kick the extra point at that time and then try to score again? But of course, Cam Little, shockingly, was not very reliable yesterday when he has been so reliable, especially last season. That was his first extra point he ever missed in the beginning of the game, like ever in high school, college, or in the NFL. And then, of course, he missed that field goal, the 50-yard field goal, I believe, at the end of the first half, which was pretty shocking, too, because you saw him make a 73-yarder, in the preseason. So 50 yards should be no problem. So, yeah, definitely a lot of issues in this game.
I saw one account that said that basically the first 3 snaps told the tale of the game, which was a sack, a holding penalty, and a 3-yard loss. But I also understand that there was some criticism saying, well, this is a team, that looks like they spent the last week celebrating a Monday night
Yeah.
football victory.
Yeah, and I asked Brian Thomas Jr. after the game, they're heading to London today. They'll be in London for the next week to play the Rams on Sunday. But, Monday you have that big emotional win against the Chiefs, one of the biggest wins probably in Jaguars' recent history. And then you have to get ready for this game and a really good opponent. And then you're also thinking, oh, I'm going to London tomorrow. Let me pack up. And now I have to go across that's a lot to deal with. And I asked him, I was like, do you think that maybe, from the big win to traveling to London, is that on your minds? And could that have possibly, led to you guys just not locking and focusing completely on this game? And he said no. He said that he felt like Liam Coen did a really good job this week or the week prior leading up to this game to get them in the mindset to make them lock in. But you have to wonder, of course, that's going to, be on anyone's mind. You're getting ready to travel across the country or across the pond, all the way over to London to now have to move your game preparations completely to a different country, to a different field. That's going to be on someone's mind. But, Brian Thomas Jr. said that wasn't the biggest issue. But again, it was the my headphones are falling off. The self-inflicted wounds that really hurt them.
And so they're hosting. They're in London, but they're the host team for the Rams game on Sunday, and that's in the morning here. What do you expect to happen at that game? What's your shorthand prediction?
Listen, so they're both 4-2. The Rams are a very, very good team. Sean McVay is a very good head coach. Actually, the teacher for Liam Coen, Liam Coen is under that kind of Sean McVay tree. So we'll see. Can the student beat the teacher? Or is the teacher, of course, just going to be, better than the student? So we'll see. It's going to be a good game, though. And I think that's awesome for, the English fans to get to see that.
All right. Well, Alessandra Pontbriand, we will catch up with you after that game. Thanks so much for coming in this morning.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
All right. And thank you for listening. If you have comments or questions, you can send either to First Coast Connect at WJCT.org. Join us tomorrow when we talk about the economic and environmental forces shaping global migration ahead of a local appearance by an international expert. I'm Ann Schindler. You've been listening to First Coast Connect on WJCT News 89.9.
Support for First Coast Connect is provided by Baptist Health and the North Florida TPO.
Terrell Hogan Law.
I'm Wayne Hogan. Highway, hospital, home, work. Where injuries happen can make a difference in the law and the outcome.
More at TerrellHoganLaw.com. The North Florida TPO is committed to shaping our transportation future. We're focused on planning, funding, clean fuels, and new technologies for a vibrant, connected community. Learn more at northfloridatpo.com. Baptist Health is a proud supporter of First Coast Connect. Baptist Health, committed to building a healthier community for all of us. More info at 202-4YOU or baptistjacks.com.